is Grace. I am 32 years old. This is my story. It is a story about love and about waiting. For a very long time, my life was a story about waiting. I lived in a small town. The town is quiet and slow. Everyone knows everyone. My life was also quiet and slow. I thought this was normal. I thought this was my life. But yesterday, everything changed. I was sitting in my small living room. The room was dark. The sun was going down. I was on the internet. I was not looking for anything special, just passing the time. And then I saw it. I saw a picture. The picture was bright. It was full of light and smiles. It was a wedding picture. A man in a suit. A woman in a beautiful white dress. They were holding hands. They looked so happy. My heart stopped. I knew the man. His name is Leo. He was the man I loved. He was the man I waited for. He promised he would come back for me. I believed him. I waited for 10 years, 10 long years. And yesterday, I saw a picture of his wedding on the internet. He married someone else. My 10 years of waiting ended with a picture of him with another woman. My story is about those 10 years, my wasted years. Let me take you back to the beginning. 10 years ago, I was 22 years old. My life was very different. It was full of hope. It was full of sunshine. I lived in the same small town. I lived in the same small house with my parents. But my world felt big. My world felt bright. Because Leo was in it. Leo and I grew up together. Our houses were on the same street. We were neighbors. But we were more than neighbors. We were best friends. I remember our childhood. We played in the fields behind our houses. We climbed trees. We shared secrets. He was always there for me. If I was sad, he made me laugh. If I fell, he helped me up. As we got older, our friendship changed. It slowly became something more. I remember the day he first held my hand. We were sitting by the river. We were 16 years old. The sun was warm. The water was sparkling. He did not say anything. He just took my hand. His hand was warm and strong. My heart was beating so fast. It felt right. It felt like coming home. From that day, we were not just friends. We were Leo and Grace. Everyone in town knew it. We were always together. We had so many dreams. We would sit and talk for hours. We talked about the future, our future. He wanted to be an architect. He wanted to build beautiful houses. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write stories. He said we would build our own house, a small house with a big garden. He would design it. I would write my stories there. We planned everything. We would have 2 children, a boy and a girl. We even had names for them. It felt so real. It felt so certain. Our love was simple and strong, like the old trees in our town. I was so happy. I thought my life was perfect. I thought our future was written in the stars. I was young. I was in love. I did not know that life can change. I did not know that promises can be broken. Leo was smart. He was ambitious. Our small town was not big enough for his dreams. He wanted to go to the big city. There was a famous university there. He wanted to study architecture there. He told me his plan one evening. We were sitting in our favorite spot by the river. The moon was bright. He was excited. His eyes were shining. He talked about the tall buildings, the busy streets, the opportunities. I listened. My heart felt heavy. The city was far away. It was a different world. I have to go, Grace, he said. His voice was soft. It is my dream, but it is for us too. I did not understand. For us, I asked. My voice was a whisper. Yes, he said. He held my face in his hands. I will study hard. I will get a good job. I will make a lot of money. Then I will come back. I will come back for you. We will build our house. We will have our family, just like we planned. His words were full of confidence. He truly believed them. And I wanted to believe them too. But I was scared. I was so scared of losing him, I cried that night. I told him not to go. I said we could be happy here, in our small town. But he said he wanted more for us. He wanted to give me a better life. I loved him. I wanted him to be happy. So I agreed. I supported his dream. Even though it was breaking my heart. The day he left is burned in my memory. It was a clear September morning. The air was cool. My parents and his parents were there at the bus station. Everyone was trying to be brave. Everyone was smiling. But their smiles were sad. He held my hands. His hands were cold. He looked into my eyes. Wait for me, Grace, he said. Please wait for me. I promise I will return. I promise. His voice was full of emotion. I saw tears in his eyes. He gave me a small gift. It was a small wooden bird. He had carved it himself. It was beautiful. The wood was smooth. This bird is a symbol, he said. It will fly back to its home. And so will I will fly back to you. I held the bird tightly in my hand. I nodded. I could not speak. My throat was tight with tears. He hugged me one last time. It was a long hug. I wanted to stay in his arms forever. But the bus horn blew. It was time to go. He let me go. He got on the bus. He found a seat by the window. He looked at me. He put his hand on the glass. I put my hand on the glass too, as if we could touch one last time. The bus started to move. I watched it go down the road. It became smaller and smaller, until it was just a tiny dot. And then it was gone. He was gone. My world felt empty. The sun was shining, but my heart was cold and dark. That was the first day. The first day of my 10-year wait. The first couple of years were not so bad. My heart was full of hope. Hope was my best friend. It kept me warm on cold nights. Leo called me every Sunday evening. I waited for his call all week. Hearing his voice was the best part of my week. He wrote letters too, long letters full of details. He told me about the city. It was loud and crowded, very different from our quiet town. He told me about his classes. They were difficult, but he was learning so much. He described his small apartment. He drew a little map of it in one of his letters. His letters were full of love. He always ended them with the same words. I miss you, Grace. I am doing all of this for us. I love you more than words can say. Wait for me. I read his letters over and over. I knew them by heart. I kept them in a beautiful wooden box. The box was my treasure chest. When I felt lonely, I would open the box. I would read his words, and I would feel close to him again. I got a job at the town library. It was a quiet job. I liked being surrounded by books. Books were my companions. They took me to different worlds. But my favorite story was always our story, the story of Leo and Grace. I lived a simple life. I worked. I helped my parents. I met my friends. But a big part of me was not there. A big part of me was in the city with Leo. I was living for the future. Our future, my friends sometimes told me to be careful. My friend Sarah, she was my best friend after Leo left. She would say, Grace, you are young. You should have fun. You are putting your life on hold. I would just smile. I would say, it is okay. I am happy. I am waiting for Leo. They did not understand our love. Our promise was special. It was strong. I believed that with all my heart. I started saving money. Every month, I put some money aside. It was for our house. I had a little notebook. I would draw plans for our garden. I would list things we needed for our kitchen. It made me feel like he was coming back soon. I learned to cook all his favorite foods. My mother taught me. She was worried about me. I could see it in her eyes, but she did not say much. She just helped me cook. She knew I was happy when I was preparing for him. My life was a waiting room, but it was a hopeful waiting room. I thought the train was coming soon. I just had to be patient. After about 3 years, things started to change. It was a slow change, so slow that I almost did not notice it at first. The phone calls became shorter. He was often tired. He would say, Grace, I have a big exam tomorrow. I can't talk for long. Or, I have to work late tonight. I am so busy. I understood. Of course, I understood. His life was busy and difficult. I wanted to be a supportive girlfriend. So I said, it's okay, Leo. I understand. Just call me when you can. But when you can became less and less frequent. The Sunday evening calls stopped. They became random calls, maybe once a month. Sometimes he would forget to call for a long time. The letters also became rare. They were short postcards now, not long, detailed letters. The words I love you were still there, but they felt different. They felt like a habit, not like a fire. A small seed of doubt began to grow in my heart. I tried to ignore it. I tried to push it away. I told myself I was being silly. He was just busy. He was working for our future. But the doubt was there. A small, cold thing in my chest. My mother started to ask more questions. Grace, honey, when is Leo coming for a visit? She would ask gently. He has not been home in 3 years. I would make excuses for him. He is too busy, Mom. The tickets are expensive. He is saving money for us. I was not just convincing her. I was convincing myself. I saw my friends moving on with their lives. Sarah got married to a nice man from a nearby town. I was her bridesmaid. The wedding was beautiful. Everyone was so happy. I smiled and danced. I wished Sarah all the happiness in the world. But when I went home that night, I cried. I was happy for her, but I was also sad for me. When would it be my turn? When would I wear a white dress? When would Leo come back for me one day? A man named Sam asked me out. He was a local farmer. He was kind and quiet. He had warm, gentle eyes. He came to the library often. He would always smile at me. He asked if I wanted to have coffee with him sometime. My heart fluttered for a second. It was nice to be noticed. It was nice to be asked out. But then guilt washed over me. I was Leo's girl. I could not go out with another man. I told Sam no. I was polite. I said, "Thank you, Sam. That is very kind of you. But I am waiting for someone." He looked a little sad, but he nodded. He understood. "I see," he said. "He is a lucky man." After that, he still came to the library. He still smiled his kind smile, but he never asked me out again. Part of me felt proud. I was being loyal. I was keeping my side of the promise. I believed that my loyalty would be rewarded. I believed that love was about sacrifice and patience. I did not realize that I was sacrificing my own life. The years passed. 4 years became 5. 5 became 6. Then 7. My life in the small town was a flat line. It was the same every single day. I would wake up. I would go to the library. I would arrange books on the shelves. I would help people find their stories. Then I would go home. I would eat dinner with my parents. I would watch some TV. I would look at the wooden bird on my bedside table. And I would go to sleep. My life was a book with the same page repeated over and over. I was 28, then 29, then 30 years old. My youth was slipping away. I could see it in the mirror. Small lines were appearing around my eyes. My smile did not reach my eyes anymore. The hope that used to burn so brightly inside me was now a tiny flame. It was flickering. I was afraid that any small wind could blow it out. The communication with Leo was almost gone. We talked maybe twice a year. On my birthday and on Christmas. Our conversations were awkward. We were like strangers making small talk. "How is work?" he would ask. "It's fine," I would say. "How is your job?" "It's good, very demanding." We talked about the weather. We talked about my parents. We never talked about us. We never talked about the future. The words "our house" and "our family" were gone. They were ghosts from a different time. I was too scared to ask the important questions. I was terrified to ask, "Leo, do you still love me? Are you still coming back?" I did not want to hear the answer. I thought if I did not ask, the promise was still alive. If I did not hear the words, I could pretend that everything was okay. It was a fragile dream. I was living in a bubble of denial. I was afraid to touch it because I knew it would burst, so I stayed quiet. And I waited. I stopped talking about Leo to my friends and family. It was too painful. When they asked about him, I would just say, "He's fine. He's busy." And I would change the subject. Soon, they stopped asking. They looked at me with pity in their eyes. I hated that look. I did not want to be the sad girl waiting for a man who was never coming back. But that is what I was, sometimes. At night, when I was alone in my room, I would get so angry. Angry at him for making a promise he could not keep. Angry at him for letting me waste my life. But most of all, I was angry at myself. Why was I so weak? Why could I not move on? Why was I clinging to a memory? But then, the anger would fade, and only the sadness would remain. I would hold the wooden bird. I would remember the 22-year-old girl who believed in forever. I would cry for her. She was so naive. She was so full of hope. I missed her. I missed the person I was before the waiting began. And then came yesterday, my 32nd birthday. I woke up with a familiar feeling of sadness. Another year gone. Another year of waiting. I went through my day in a fog. I worked at the library. I smiled at people. But inside, I was empty. I waited for his call all day. Just a small, happy birthday, Grace. That is all I wanted. But the phone never rang. He had never forgotten my birthday before. Never, in 10 years. This was the first time a deep, cold sadness filled my heart. It was different from the usual sadness. It felt final. It felt like an ending. My friend Sarah came over in the evening. She brought a small cake with a single candle. She tried her best to cheer me up. We ate the cake. We talked about silly things. She is a good friend. She never judged me. She was just there for me. But even with her there, I felt completely alone. After she left, the silence in the house was deafening. I sat on the sofa. I did not want to think. I did not want to feel. I mindlessly scrolled through social media on my phone, a way to escape my own thoughts. And that is when I did it. I don't know why. Maybe it was a sudden need to see his face, to see if he was real. Or maybe, deep down, I knew it was time to face the truth. I typed his name into the search bar. It took only a few seconds. His profile was public, and there were so many pictures. Pictures of a life I knew nothing about. A life that did not include me. There were pictures of him with friends I did not recognize. At places I had never seen. He looked happy. He looked successful. He looked like a stranger. And then I saw the link. A link to a professional photographer's page. The title was Leo and Emily's Wedding. My finger trembled as I clicked on it. And there it was. A whole album of pictures. Picture after picture of his wedding day. Leo in a sharp black suit, his hair cut differently. He looked more mature. But his smile was exactly the same. The same smile that I had loved since I was a child. But he was not smiling at me. He was smiling at her. Emily. His wife, she was beautiful. She had long, dark hair and a radiant smile. She wore a stunning white dress. They were standing under an arch of flowers. They were cutting a big, white cake. They were dancing. In one picture, he was looking at her. The look in his eyes. It was a look of pure love and adoration. It was the same look he used to give me. The date of the post was just 2 days ago. He got married 2 days before my birthday. I stared at the screen. I could not breathe. My mind was a complete blank. It was like my brain just shut down. I felt a cold wave wash over my body. My hands were shaking so hard that I dropped my phone. It clattered on the wooden floor, but I did not even flinch. I just kept staring at the empty space where the screen had been. 10 years. 10 years of my life. 10 years of waiting. For a man who was building a life with someone else, it was a lie. My whole life for the past 10 years was based on a lie. A broken promise. I did not cry at first. The shock was too great. I felt numb. I moved like a robot. I stood up. I walked to my bedroom. I opened the drawer of my bedside table. I took out the wooden box, the box with all his letters. I opened it. The smell of old paper filled the air. I took out the small wooden bird. I held it in my palm. It felt cold. "This bird will fly back to you," he had said. "And so will I." What a beautiful lie. It was just a piece of wood. It could not fly. And he was a man who had built a new nest, far, far away from me. That is when the dam broke. The numbness disappeared, and the pain came. It was a physical pain. My chest hurt. I could not breathe. A sob escaped my lips. It was a raw, animal sound. And then the tears came. Hot, heavy tears. They flowed down my face like a river. I sank to the floor, clutching the box. I cried for everything. I cried for the naive 22-year-old girl. She had so much faith. She had so much love to give. And she gave it all to him. I cried for the lost years, my 20s, the years I should have been exploring, learning, living. But instead, I was waiting, just waiting. I cried for the love that I thought was the greatest love story of all time. But it was just a sad story of a foolish girl. I felt so stupid. How could I have been so blind? Everyone else saw it. My mother, my friends. They tried to warn me, but I did not listen. I was living in a fantasy world. I was in love with a memory, not a real person. The Leo I loved did not exist anymore. Maybe he never existed at all. The worst part was his silence. He did not have the decency to tell me. He just let me wait. He let me waste my life while he was falling in love with someone else. He was a coward. He did not have the courage to break my heart with the truth. So he broke it with his silence and a picture on the internet. I stayed on the floor all night. The box of letters spilled around me. I did not read them. I could not. They were no longer love letters. They were pages of lies. The sun started to rise. Thin rays of light came through my window. A new day was beginning. The first day of the rest of my life. My body ached. My eyes were swollen and red. I felt exhausted. I felt broken. I slowly got up. I walked to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. I barely recognized the woman looking back at me. Her face was pale and tear-stained. Her eyes were empty. She looked old. She looked defeated. I am 32 years old, I thought. My life is over. I have nothing. No love, no career, no future. But then, as I kept looking, I saw something else. Deep in those sad eyes, I saw a flicker. A tiny spark. It was strength. The strength of a woman who had endured 10 years of silent heartbreak. The strength of a survivor. I am still here. I am still standing. He did not break me completely. I took a deep breath. A decision formed in my mind. A clear, solid decision. It was time to let go. It was time to set myself free. I went back to my room. I gathered all the letters. I put them back in the box. I held the wooden bird one last time. I remembered the boy who carved it. I remembered the love we shared. That love was real once. But it was in the past. And the past is not a place to live. I carried the box downstairs. I went to the old fireplace in our living room. My hands were steady now. I opened the box. I took out the letters one by one, and I threw them into the cold fireplace. Then I took the wooden bird. I kissed it goodbye. A goodbye to my past. A goodbye to the girl who waited. And I placed it on top of the pile of paper. I struck a match. The flame was small and bright. I touched it to the edge of a letter. The paper caught fire immediately. The flames grew, eating the words of love and promises. The wooden bird was engulfed in fire. It glowed for a moment, bright and beautiful, before turning into black ash. I watched until everything was gone. There was nothing left, just a pile of gray ash. I did not feel sad anymore. I felt light. I felt a sense of peace. The heavy weight I had been carrying on my shoulders for 10 years was finally gone. The fire had not just burned the letters. It had burned my pain. It had cleansed my heart. My years were not completely wasted. I know that now. I learned a lot. I learned about patience. I learned about loyalty. I learned about hope. But the most important lesson I learned is this: I must love myself first. My happiness cannot depend on someone else. My life is my own. It is not something to be put on hold. It is something to be lived. Every single day today is a new day, a new beginning. My name is Grace. I am 32 years old. And for the first time in a very long time, I am excited about the future. I do not know what I will do. I do not have a plan. And that is okay. The future is a blank page, and I am the writer. I can write any story I want. Maybe I will travel. I have always wanted to see the ocean. Maybe I will go back to school. Maybe I will finally write my stories. Or maybe I will just start with something small. Maybe tomorrow I will walk into the coffee shop. And if I see Sam, the kind farmer with the gentle eyes, maybe I will smile at him. A real smile this time. a smile that reaches my eyes. I do not know if I will find love again. My heart is still healing, but I am open to the possibility. I am open to life. If you are listening to my story, and if you are waiting for someone, I want to tell you something. It is beautiful to love. It is brave to hope. But please, do not forget to live your life. Your life is precious. You are precious. Do not let anyone dim your light. Do not put your dreams in someone else's hands. You can do this. You are stronger than you think. It is okay to feel scared. It is okay to feel lost. I feel scared and lost too. But we can take the first step together. My story started with a broken promise. It was a sad story, but I will not let it be my only story. I will write new chapters. Chapters filled with joy and adventure, and maybe a new kind of love. A love that does not ask me to wait. A love that asks me to live. Thank you for listening to my story. My new story starts now.